Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Yeonni. I knew I wanted to make a comeback on my YouTube and I announced it on my community tab, but I didn't think I was gonna be coming back with this video. It's actually Friday today, July 2nd. I was getting ready to go in for work and I just wanted to take a quick 10 minutes during my break to film this video because I heard about this whole thing about Oli London announcing that they are now transracial. And being a Korean myself, I thought it would be an interesting perspective to throw into all the heated discussion right now about what is going on with this person. So that's why I'm here. I have to get to work, so I'm gonna try to make this video as quick and concise and, you know, still informative as possible. So I have my notes and let's just get straight into it. So who is Oli London? So from my limited knowledge of this individual, this person is British or was British, recently came out as non-binary, so I'm going to try my best to use the appropriate pronouns for them that they prefer. They're a huge BTS fan. They specifically love Jimin, who is one of the singers of BTS, and I believe they're like a social media influencer, singer, entertainment type of person on the internet sphere. So that is this Oli London person, and they're someone who really blows up on the internet whenever they go through these very extreme plastic surgeries, and I believe they spent over like 100,000 euros on getting plastic surgery to not only look Korean but to look like Jimin from BTS. So I think the first topic that comes to mind for me is this cultural appreciation or is this cultural appropriation? As a Korean, I find myself kind of confused because this individual says that they really appreciate Korean culture. They've been quoted in interviews saying things that they love Korea, they love the language, and they respect Korea. That's why they say, at least, that this is not cultural appropriation but cultural appreciation. And I think whenever this kind of rhetoric comes into the main sphere, there's a lot of controversy because every individual has their own story and experiences when it comes to cultural appreciation or appropriation. So it's hard to really come to some sort of a consensus on that. I just know that personally, as a Korean person, it's confusing, like I said, because this individual says that they respect Korea, which is awesome. They're speaking very highly of Korean culture, which is awesome. But it's very weird to me that they are getting specific features that us as Koreans have gotten made fun of growing up, you know, like the small Asian eyes. And it's interesting that now that BTS and Korean culture and Asian culture is more mainstream, we are being celebrated for what we were made fun of in the past. So there's a part of me that's like, there is progress in the world and things are getting better because now people are apparently getting plastic surgery to look like Koreans and have those features that I grew up getting made fun of. But then there's a part of me that makes me feel like, so then are we like a trend? You know, is it trendy to appreciate and love Asians? Because especially in America with all the anti-Asian hate crimes, I've become very much more aware of my otherness and my features, my Asian features that make me a target when I'm out walking around in public. You know, it's confusing. So I don't really have a definitive yes, no on that. I'm very confused about the whole cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation aspect. And what adds also to my confusion is Oli London, they are very specific about their intent to look like Jimin. I believe he's mentioned in an interview recently after all this blew up that now he identifies as non-binary, as Korean, no longer British, also identifies as Jimin. That was quoted, that he identifies as this person, Jimin. And that's just so odd to me because you can't turn a person into a pronoun, and that makes me think, how does Jimin think if he knows about this and heard about this, how does he feel to be kind of condensed into an aesthetic, into a pronoun? Would he be flattered or would he be creeped out? I think I would be kind of creeped out because it's one thing to want to look Korean or Asian, that's confusing in itself, but to want to look like a specific Korean person and to spend 100,000 euros to look like a specific Korean person, once again, are we an aesthetic? Are we a look? And how will this make this individual feel? What if Jimin comes out one day and he denounces Oli London and says, "This is really creepy, I don't want this"? Then is that harassment to Jimin? You know, how does he feel about that? So it's confusing. I think there are some controversial people that have, I know there's like a white woman who started identifying as a black woman because she wanted to be a black woman, and there's a lot of controversy with that. I don't think this is the first time something like this has come up, but sometimes I have to wonder, where do we draw the line? But then that leads me to my next point that I want to talk about, which is self-expression. I think something that Oli London has said is that they believe being transracial is just like being transgender. You know, in the LGBTQ plus community, especially just having been Pride Month, there's a lot of embracing of self-expression, individuality, being whoever you want to be, and that's obviously wonderful. But as like a cisgender Asian woman in a heterosexual relationship, obviously I can't speak on the transgender population, but from the education that I've received from my transgender friends and from online resources is that when it comes to being transgender, there is a core element of dysphoria, struggles with gender identity, and some individuals do choose to like transition fully when it comes to physically getting the surgeries and to look to pass as the different gender, but some don't. It's a lot of struggling and discovering your identity and who you are and who you feel comfortable with on the outside, and that your inside matches on the outside. That's, you know, my limited knowledge. Oli London is saying that they are expressing who they really are. They've always felt inside like they are Korean, and now that they've done all these surgeries, they feel like they look Korean. And I am just, there's a part of me that feels like I think I understand, but there's a big part of me that's just kind of confused, especially bringing it back to the fact that it's not just that he wants to look Asian, he wants to look like a specific Asian person, Jimin from BTS. You know what I mean? That really makes me think a lot about my last part of this video is mental health. We all know that social media has a huge impact on people's mental health, and the impact of like influence and power and how that influences people to make decisions one way or another. So I come to wonder, as someone in the mental health field, obviously I'm not diagnosing or making any assumptions, but knowing that social media has an impact on people's decision-making choices, I come to wonder, does Oli London want to do this really because they say that they've been on this journey for 8 years. It makes me wonder, have they convinced themselves that this is really what they want because of the social media and the mainstream media attention they've gotten from their surgeries? Do they still really want this? Because they said that they've struggled with their identity for so long and now they feel like this is who they are. But the sole concept of wanting to change the core of who you are to now a Korean man who is actually Jimin makes me wonder, you know, what really goes on through this person's mind, and do they really believe this is what they want, or do they believe this is what social media and their followers want, so they're just following suit? So some finishing points, since I have to go to work now and I have to finish up this video. As a Korean person, I also find this really interesting because plastic surgery is a big part of Asian culture, specific Korean culture. There's plastic surgery tourism where you've probably come across people like videos like this on YouTube where plastic surgery hospitals can sponsor certain YouTubers or influencers to come to Korea to get work done for free for promotion. So Korea has kind of become this mecca of plastic surgery. So when you see advertisements for plastic surgery, I blame it a lot on and systemic racism and all of that, imperialism, but many Asian women in the past, and I believe still now, have wanted to get westernized features, whether it's double eyelids, bigger eyes, a more pronounced nose bridge. There has been, and unfortunately continue to, whiter skin, right? There has been and continue to be this kind of beauty standard in Asia that really rejects how most Asians come into the world looking, you know. So that's another whole video in itself, but so I'm saying that to say it's confusing because now it's the opposite. It's a white person who wants to have Asian features but also be Asian enough to change their name, change their identity, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to do surgery, and just every time I see their picture of just the bruises and the cuts on their face, I just my heart, you know, I don't know, it just makes me kind of sad. it makes me sad. I really hope this individual, I really hope Oli London is happy. I think it's important for all of us to realize that this is a person and that social media, mainstream media, everything you read is not the entire truth. We don't know 100% what is going on in Oli London's mind, what their life has been like, what has led them to make these decisions to be where they are today. So all of this to say, the last thing I think we should do is ridicule or send hate or be rude and hateful towards this individual, because they're on their own journey of figuring themselves out clearly. And yeah, I think that's it. My camera is flashing and I really need to go into work now. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know what your thoughts are in the description box down below. And I said this video was kind of random, but actually it does fit into where I really want to direct my content, I hate that word, my videos as we move forward. As an Asian American in this social sphere, I want to talk more about Asian American topics, so since I am one, so just in case you didn't realize. So this was a good video to come back to YouTube on. Please like this video if you did enjoy it. Let's keep the comments respectful. My channel is a place for respectful discussion. We do not berate anyone here. And yeah, thank you so much for coming back to my channel to watch. I'm excited to be back on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves emotionally, physically, mentally, and I already said this. I'll see you in the very next video. Bye!